Hey, Film Study. I'm going to explain this film history project to you. You obviously can just read the document, but some of you probably prefer me talking about it. So to learn some film history, you're going to do this project. My goal here is not for you to memorize a bunch of film names and directors and technology, and I don't think that's useful. I think the most important part about understanding film history is, as an art form, it really functions as kind of a connecting tissue between popular culture and technology. Many art forms do, obviously, but this one does particularly well. So the question here is, what's the relationship between film, popular culture, and technology? So popular culture is not just music of the time. It's the dominant values of society at the time. It's politics, social values, world events, economics. So popular doesn't necessarily mean something is good either. It just means that these ideas are the powerful ones at the time. It also reflects what people are heard and what stories are not heard and who's left out. So for example, right here in 2020, as we look back in time, we'll see the dominant values, the dominant ideas right now are probably going to be mostly centered around a deep distrust of government, feeling failed by our government in taking care of us as there's a global pandemic. It'll probably reflect a renewed energy around racial justice, renewed for some that, again, this is voices that are left out. You know, whenever people say 2020 was the year I certainly became passionate about racial justice, well, there's millions of people, mostly people of color, said that's what I've been saying. They join the club now. And so popular culture doesn't necessarily mean it's the same for everyone. So between COVID, the Trump administration, and racial justice, those are probably the most powerful cultural forces right now. But then, of course, you can get smaller and talk about, what sort of voices are being heard, how, like TikTok or Twitch streamers are becoming ways that people who didn't have a voice before suddenly now have this huge influence. We can talk about all kinds of different things that are happening right now. And our movies are going to reflect that. We're going to go back in time and see that. So for this project, you will answer this question with a visual presentation. There'll be some writing in it, but it's going to be slides. Here's the requirements. 8 slides that cover content. So you can have an intro slide, but that doesn't count, and not the slides where you put your sources either. You're going to reference at least 8 movies from at least 6 different decades total. And the decade, so 2010 to 2020 is a decade, 2000 to 2010 is a decade. So you're going to have to go back in time here. I would recommend you go pretty far back in time to get a wide variety. You're going to use at least 8 images. So throughout the slideshow, put pictures. You can certainly do more from these movies from the time. And then you're going to reference at least 8 cultural, political, or social, historical, put this here, moments or events in their relationship to the movies you reference. So like I just said, how do the movies reflect that time? Now, of course, there aren't a lot of movies coming out right now, but over the next couple of years, I feel like the tone of our films will certainly reflect the world that we live in now. And then reference at least 8 technological advancements in film and their relationship to the movies, because, there we go. Because technology changes movies. It's an art form where you can tell different stories because the technology changes. So I'll show you examples of that in just a second here. And then you're going to use at least 5 sources for your research. So all the classes you've had so far in English that teach you how to use sources and do research, time to put that in action. So do some research to find good information. And for at least 3 of the films you talk about, you must also cover how they either fail to represent voices and stories that have historically been marginalized, or misrepresent voices and stories that have been historically marginalized. Sorry, cut out there for a second. That have been historically marginalized. So how do movies reflect who does and doesn't get a voice in society? And so I have a few example slides here that I'll show you in a second. And if you look down here, there's some notes and clarifications. It's possible that a film can cover both technological and cultural, political, social moments, but you could have 16 total. So if you have one movie and you're like, I don't know what the technology is around this, then maybe that's going to mean you have to do more. So find ones that kind of are at the crossroads, or pick an important movie and do some research to find out how it did both. You can use whatever credible sources you like, and you can even use Wikipedia as one of your 5 sources, because when it comes to this stuff, it's going to be pretty reliable. But that will only count as one, so don't just use Wikipedia for the whole thing. You're not going to be presenting these verbally to the class, so this is not a presentation. Be sure to cover all the information clearly on your slides. So you might put more words on the slides than you normally would if it was a presentation in speech class where people get bored reading the slides. And you can work with a partner on this, but then if that's the case, all requirements are going to be doubled. And if you really want to avoid boring visuals, which you should, go to SlidesGo or slidescarnival.com, and they have a really cool Google Slide presentations like layouts that you can copy and move around and make copies of the slides. And so then you can make your slides look interesting and not the same old boring ones that come with it. A couple little clarifications I'm realizing as I'm saying this. Technological advancement can be film tech, or it can be style advancements. And so I want you to be aware of the fact that kind of a form of technology is a new way to make a movie. So there was a first movie that used a close-up shot of 2 people, or a drone, or any of these things that you're used to seeing in movies now, a green screen. There was a movie that did it first. For a lot of these, it's actually earlier than you'd expect, like the first green screen or the first digital technology in a movie. So style advancement can mean any sort of advancement in a new way to think about and make movies behind the scenes, the technical stuff. So it doesn't just have to literally be sound or color or 3D or something like that. And here I've made a few sample slides, one about Casablanca that you're going to watch this week, one about Jaws, and one about the film Roma. And I wrote a little blurb on each one. So check out these examples if you'd like a sense of what this can look like. So hopefully that answers your questions, but if you have any more, shoot me a message. This project will be due 8 a.m. on Monday, so you have the entire week to do it along with watching Casablanca.